So in the previous video, we started with a larger CopperSpice application that we cloned and built on our own machines. In this video, I want to take the opposite approach. Let's build a really easy example of our first GUI application. I already opened the application that we want to build here. This is an application that is also suggested by the CopperSpice journal that you should probably take a look at some point. So this application is just a main window with one button, and the one button says close. So this closes the application. I will delete my example first so that we can start with a clean workspace. There are two possible options now. One is you can go to journal.copperspice.com and go to the first GUI example. Or what you can do is you can just clone my project where I already added all of that code to a gist. So I'm going to go ahead and clone what I already have. To clone, here's the destination folder, and this is going to clone it, right? So here's the folder again. Go into this example folder. There are two files in here. One is the cmake lists.txt, which is the configuration for cmake to set up our build system, and one is the main CPP. So the cmake file is it's a little bit longer, and don't worry if you don't understand it completely. This is not necessary right now, but let's just briefly go over the main.cpp. So you can see these two includes here, Qt GUI and Qt Core. As I mentioned in the previous video, CopperSpice was a fork of the Qt framework. So the prefixes or the names of the libraries are still prefixed with Qt or Q. So we include the core library and the GUI library. Well, we have just one main function. It just has 19 lines. It takes parameters from the command line or command line arguments. And in the first line of our program, same as we did in the kitchen sink application, we instantiate a queue application, which is basically the event system, and we just take the command line arguments and pass them to the constructor. In this example, we don't really work with command line arguments, so potentially you could leave them out, but it's just common practice to show these arguments. In line 8, we create a so-called Q widget. Q widget is sort of the base class of all the things we want to display or that we want to use. So widgets, thingies, right? This is created on the heap. You can see that it says new Q widget. So when this returns a pointer to the main window. And one thing we do here is we set a minimum size for our main window. Line 11, Q push button. Q push button is now a derived class from Q widget. It's a special widget, but the way to construct a new push button is basically the same as we see here. So we create a new push button on the heap, and we store a reference or a pointer to this push button in this identifier. And we access the methods and attributes of our widgets by using the arrow operator. So here we want to use the method setText. Then we come to line 14. And line 14 is now something that might be a little bit hard to understand in the beginning because, well, I already created a window, I already created a button. Why isn't the button drawn on the main window? Well, CopperSpice and also Qt use this thing called a layout. And a layout is sort of like an organization mechanic. The layout is constructed with the main window as a construction parameter. So the box layout now knows, well, I belong to this main window, and when the main window gets destroyed, also the layout gets destroyed. And now we want to add to this layout our push button widget. There are several different layouts we will also investigate over the next videos, but for now we just take the horizontal box layout. It's one of the basic layouts. So what do we have now? We created our event system, we created a main window, we created a push button, we created a layout. We added our push button to the layout, and now we want to use this function QObjectConnect. And QObjectConnect takes a signal and a slot and connects them. So if a signal is emitted, a slot should get that signal. And the signal we're talking about is push button and Q push button clicked. This, I already mentioned that before, is a method pointer. It looks a little bit strange, but bear with me for a moment. And what is the slot? Well, the slot is main window QWidget close, the method of QWidget close. So this is what we want to connect to one another. You have to understand that this function does not execute this statement doesn't execute the close operation. It just connects the push button to the QWidget close operation on the class or on the in the object main window. It just connects them. So if the button gets pushed, then this method will be called. So this is basically the setup of our window, and now we want to show our main window and return whatever app exec returns. So as already mentioned in the kitchen sink example, app exec is the method that really starts our event system. So after setting up everything, we want to start the event system. Okay, so how do we compile this now? See, we've got two files. One is our source file. Yeah, it's the same that we just talked about. And we start by generating a new directory and then moving into this directory. Now we want to run cmake. Yeah, if you don't know what this parameter was, -d cmake prefix path, go back to the kitchen sink example. It's the location where our binaries, our library binaries are located, and our cmake file is located in the folder that's above us, right? So this configures our build system. And let's see what we have here. Now the build system is configured. We want to run cmake build, our build files are now in our current directory. That's why we use the single dot. Building, well, takes a little while. It doesn't take as long as the kitchen sink example, obviously, because it's not that huge of a project. Now we have this bin directory, and we can run cmake install dot prefix deploy to build our final executable. Now here's the folder deploy. Let's go into it, deploy. See, here's example.1. Example1. Start this, and you see here's our application. And if I click close, it closes the application. That's it. As I mentioned, if you want to learn more about these, go to journal.copperspice.com and look at the source code for the GUI example. There's also a brief introduction to the signal and slot connections.